Hello, I have
Hi,
background noise, so I can't talk that much. Margie.
Hi, kiddo.
Hi.
What do you know?
Nothing.
So tell me
I have,
this.
yeah, I have
On that
background
fishing
noise.
game,
So.
on that fishing game, how do I reel in the fish? So
There's
I
a way
figured
to
out.
switch it. There's a way you can switch it to one hand, and you always have to punch the trigger button. Roll it.
Oh, but originally it's on two hands?
Yeah.
Oh, for God's sake. No wonder.
Why am I moving?
I don't know.
Oh, my boundary is
Oh.
Oh, I'm stuck.
Let me see.
So you go to your settings on that menu thing, and you first walk in, and you hit the right or left hand you want to fish in. So I'm gonna mute myself for all hot people.
Okay.
Kieran should be here, but she's always late.
Wait a minute, you gotta take this off. There we go. Hey, girl.
I have a wall by me, so I can't move.
I know, I can't.
My arms.
I can't get over. There we go. There you go.
That's the part of this.
I'm back.
There we go.
I don't know. Yes.
Just turn on around and speed backwards. There you go.
Hello.
Hey.
No.
What are you doing, Mikey? Well, hi.
Hello, Matt.
Hello.
That's cool.
Hello.
Let me friend.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, Rich.
Friend.
Hey, how's it going? Doing well.
Hi, John. Hi, everyone.
How you feeling?
I'm
You
new.
guys know LC.
Yay!
Yay.
Welcome, everyone,
Hello.
to the news and updates. As we're trying to make sure that everybody is muted. Welcome. I am Laurel, and welcome to our third year and the 2021. Holy cow, with news and updates. And I'd like to welcome my wonderful co-host, Donna.
Hello, everyone. I'm Donna McTee. 2021. Wow, it's been a very long time since the new year had such significance for hope. Fascinating that even with so many in lockdown during the New Year celebrations, there's hope in the world for something better, for wounds to heal, for people to be healthy, thriving, and back to actual lives. We know it won't be soon, but it's getting closer, and the new year symbolizes that hope. It is with that hope that we invite you to join us for this special event, a 2020 retrospective of the news and updates over the past year in the AltspaceVR community. If we had a TARDIS, this would be more fun, but we
Yes,
hope
it
you will
would.
enjoy the ride as we take you virtually back to January 2020.
Wow, January, the last month of innocence for many in the world, believing that the worst thing that could happen was the flu. Okay, a little famine, pestilence, and war. All right, the world was stunned and fascinated in January by the never-ending antics of the soon-to-be impeached U.S. president. And Mark slide, and thank you, of the U.S. president, and eager for the election year to bring hope for new leadership and some sanity. After the week we've just had, let's hope it comes sooner than the inauguration.
Now, Brexit was as crazy as it has been. January 31st, Brexit was done. Well, it was the start of the end. The end of the doing came in a last-minute agreement at the end of December, officially separating from the EU. And our favorite Brits, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, quit the royal family, moved with the goal of living a normal life among the rich mansions owners in California, and announced a new podcast talk show as part of their quiet, normal life plan.
While the northern hemisphere huddled under the winter chill, the southern hemisphere was reeling from massive wildfires. Between December and January, a record-breaking 47 million acres burned, displacing thousands and killing dozens.
Now, watch parties for the fires were held in AltspaceVR as the world watched. We do that well here, come together as a community when the need arises, as with the community mourning and tribute events for the death of the Los Angeles Lakers player Kobe Bryant and his daughter, and 7 others. Remember when they were killed in a helicopter crash in California, and other tragedies? That seems like a lifetime ago.
It does. January saw the annual return of Reggie Watts with a special performances that entertained over 1,000 people from around the metaverse here in AltspaceVR, dancing, party, singing, laughing the night away. Remember, it was still our last month of innocence, and we were having the time of our lives.
The info zone arrived in the later half of December 2019. The new welcome space for AltspaceVR new users. Community helpers were to staff the info zone to welcome new users arriving after their training steps. This also provided an opportunity for community helpers to finally gain some respect and leadership opportunities. It was also beneficial to new users to be greeted by an experienced person eager to help them and welcome them into our community.
Many enjoyed the greeting process and worked hard to join the community helper program so they could be a greeter, expanding the program quickly, with new superpowers to assist the staff in moderation at the door. If somebody came in clearly bent on trolling, the community helpers would work together to assist in flagging the user for staff to investigate and take action. This was a powerful feature and very helpful for weeding out troublemakers only.
Now, all was good for most, but the world building community struggled, warned for months of major changes coming to shift the AltspaceVR Unity game engine version from 2018 to 2019. Many were caught off guard when their worlds broke. World building survived and became stronger, more stable, with plenty of new features. But we're jumping ahead a bit.
Now, on February 25th, Amazon.com opened its first cashless grocery store in Seattle. Do you believe that? Prime members registered with a store they could walk right in, pick up groceries, and walk out. Amazing! A few weeks later, the store became useless and trivial as we all ordered from Amazon online as the reality of the pandemic arrived. But hey, ordering online, living in VR, who needs the real world?
Now, February was exciting in AltspaceVR. First updates were rolling out faster and more consistently on Tuesdays, with critical patches coming out immediately or by Thursday or Friday. This brought a predictability and stability to the community as well as the development team, and kudos on them for holding on to the schedule and development roadmap as much as they did, as Seattle was one of the first to realize a pandemic was on the way. Again, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Now, the Me Too movement was thriving, and even here in AltspaceVR, with meetups, open discussions, and a watch party as people actually awaited the verdict of guilty against Hollywood producer Harvey Feinstein, considered a watershed moment for the Me Too movement.
Now, February was the record-breaking 2020 Educators in VR International Summit. It felt like it lasted a month, but it was just 6 24-hour days featuring 170 speakers and over 150 events across 6 VR platforms, with the majority of the events happening here in AltspaceVR. There were over 6,000 event attendees. That's amazing. It shook things up for sure.
And Andy Fidel of Get Social and the Educators in VR team came up with a brilliant idea of showcasing the real life people behind the avatars. People from around the world shared photographs on social media of how they were participating in the summit, creating this amazing collage of the true social VR experience. I just love these. They're wonderful. And we need to say hello to everybody in room 2. Welcome. We are so glad you are here. Everybody give up some hearts so everybody in room 2 can see you. Thank you.
What we didn't know is what we would wake up to on Monday after the week-long event to find the world changed, and virtual reality and online conferencing would become such an important thing in the world next to finding a vaccine.
Indeed. Wow. That also feels like it was a long time ago. Washington State's government finally responded to what they believed was a major flu outbreak that affected only old and sickly people until a connection was made with a new mysterious announcement. The announcement of a mysterious flu-like virus coming out of China. School districts, companies reported very sick people and began to shut down. With little warning, the state took the unprecedented act to order all public offices, schools, buildings, everything shut down for a minimum of 3 weeks due to the coronavirus pandemic, including the offices of Microsoft based in Seattle.
Now, as you know, Microsoft owns AltspaceVR. With barely a few hours warning, the staff were sent home and offices closed. Some were able to grab laptops and some work with them, but most left everything behind. They figured out quickly how to keep AltspaceVR going and how to work from home, staying flexible and light. And we are so grateful. For a week or so, many experienced users were very worried. We are so thrilled and proud of the AltspaceVR team for making it work and keeping the lights on. Little did they realize that the few weeks of lockdown would translate into months and months. Now nearly a year. We were so naive back then, weren't we?
Now, on March 11th, coronavirus was officially declared a pandemic, a worldwide pandemic. Within a few days, toilet paper became the newest currency. Okay, so we laugh now, but fights broke out over toilet paper. And there were many, many pictures of empty store shelves and toilet paper finding celebrations shared across social media. Now, toilet paper became such a thing. Woody Pickard brought us the Trump toilet toss world. I just want you to do it. Have you guys visited it? It's awesome. All right, so Donna, how do you follow that? Okay, I think you follow it with some empathy and generosity.
Absolutely. Italy was one of the countries exceptionally devastated by COVID-19. The country was still suffering from a horrible economic struggle to get back on its feet when the virus ravaged, quickly overwhelming the healthcare system. Michael McDonald of Gold Lotus Language Learning, Training and Educational Classes teamed up with Educators in VR to produce the longest class in VR, the 24-hour English lesson. It was also a fundraiser for the Italian Red Cross to help support their emergency services. I had the most wonderful time. It was the most amazing experience.
I think you were there for the whole 24 hours. Which thank you, that was incredible. In many ways, 2020 was the year AltspaceVR moved from teenager to adult, moving from social platform with events to adult social events platform. New users were greeted with a training program and welcomed into the info zone. Improvements were made to support ticketing for support requests, and improvements came to servers for increased capability and stability. The ability to report an event or world for violating community standards also allowed the community to have their say on what was acceptable in AltSpace VR or not. Like the change or not, it was exciting to see it grow up.
Now, the release of a change to moderation to require a reason for removal from an event was more than welcome. A huge change came when AltspaceVR limited unregistered users to the info zone. Oh my gosh, this was a wonderful day. AltspaceVR
Yes,
was off limits until they actually registered. This reduced many of the seriously underage users and frustrated a few looking for an easy place to explore in VR when they were drunk or high, or literally just looking for a place to troll.
As the world adjusted to lockdown, conferences, classes, exhibits, festivals, all the social, cultural, and business and social events that we take for granted were not just grounded, they were frozen. And many turned to AltSpace VR and also to educators in VR and other groups to help convert their real world events to VR.
The demand was high. Microsoft corporate events team members were brought in to help support the AltspaceVR VR events team manage all of the requests and the demands. As a result, event support features improved dramatically based upon input from the educators in VR production team and their successful international summit that was back in February, and each event AltspaceVR produced, beginning with the Microsoft Developer Days conference in May that brought in hundreds of Microsoft developers, advanced users, testers, and employees from all around the world.
And the templates that were created for the Microsoft Developer Days conference with a mix of social and presentation areas were used again by Educators VR in the fall for a private conference and then released to the community, expanding the ever-growing selection of world templates for events and world building.
New features and updates in March included something that drove many event hosts crazy: the elimination of the annoying sound of a portal being generated. Event hosts used to panic at that sound. We're thrilled that they are mostly gone, as encouraging people to leave an event is really disrespectful.
That's an understatement. In March, after years of complaints, AltspaceVR VR started working on resolving this issue by removing the sound and then trying to suppress the generation of portals when the mute all was on. Though it didn't work very well, but they are still working on it to the relief of event hosts around our metaverse.
Now, AltspaceVR has been working on and off on what they called groups, the ability to create an invite list for access to private events. Still in barely beta development, educators in VR thoroughly thrashed it during the International Summit, and at the end of March, AltspaceVR announced it was ready for paid conferences and events.
Now, the group feature works for private event access by allowing the host to add the usernames or AltspaceVR account email address to a list. Someone registers for a class, their information is added to the group, and they'll be able to access the event, right? Sounds wonderful and easy. Not.
Now, the problem is that when people not familiar with AltspaceVR, and let's be honest, that's a lot of people, when they register and pay for an event, they haven't yet registered with AltspaceVR. So they don't know what their username is going to be yet. If they are, they often don't know where to find it. So they created it, but don't know where to find it. And often they will pay with their work email for an event, but register in AltSpace with their personal email. Thus, it's hard to link the two. They can't get into the event because we don't have the right email address. Event hosts, teachers, producers, and educators in VR have nagged AltspaceVR to make this process easier.
And March also brought attention to accessibility issues with the interface, working on it to improve it for VR and for 2D users, something we're very excited about, and that work continued through the rest of the year.
The month of change, April. Many around the world were either experiencing their first lockdown or into already their second month of lockdown. Businesses around the world were closed and employees at home working from home. Many of us thinking that this has to be over by fall. If we could just get our minds, get through to fall, right? That's what we were thinking back then.
God, we are so naive, weren't we? The conference industry was devastated, along with the travel and hotel industry, so dependent upon it. More and more conferences, concerts, public and private events were canceled or moved online, and some of them into AltspaceVR. VR. The list of events became so representative of the pandemic, Wikipedia started a list of events affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. It is an incredible list. Donna has a saying that we love. You never have a bad hair day in VR or in Altspace. I love that. The rest of the world has been learning how not to have bad pants days, as their fashion sense would dress them up for video conferencing for work, school, or social from the waist up. But those of us already in VR, we have better fashion sense. It doesn't matter what you look like or how long since your last shower or haircut. All we care about is you.
And I have to say, I'm just going to ad lib. I'm not allowed to ad lib very much here today because we have so much to share with you. But I have to say that around this time is where, in my own life, people's clothes were exchanged with high-end pajamas, which I now have about 10 pair. So that is just my little too much information, but
I love it. I love it.
Now, events also received a boost with the new Events Tools Kit that brought us stage blockers and banners and help text buttons and so much more fun for our events. Other events brought us the ability to set the default audio, just one of the many audio improvements this year. World builders building with VR headsets rejoiced when the access lock feature was added to the world editor, making it easier to position and to rotate objects.
Now, with the new emphasis on accessibility, an update in Altspace brought us the ability in 2D to mute by hitting the spacebar, triggering frustration for those typing or leaning over their keyboard while talking, then muting themselves. It also brought numbers to the emojis. Unfortunately, the numbers didn't make any sense. So our news and updates team, led by Mark, protested and offered alternatives to the order that were, well, mostly accepted following the visual order of the emojis on the screen. It's not perfect, but it's getting better.
Now, in May, AltspaceVR brought back Reggie Watts to help us during the pandemic and lockdown for an amazing 8-week series of concerts and shows. He rocked out and kept AltspaceVR dancing and jamming with his powerful music and fun jokes and so many stories. The timing was perfect to help us not just get through the stress of the pandemic, but also the rise again of the Black Lives Matter movement as his performances took on a different tone in response after he melted down on the James Corbin show, discussing his feelings about the police-involved killings of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd.
For years, the death of African Americans at the hands of police has lit many a local protest march. But the combination murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor burst into flames of protest around the world. Black Lives Matters protests rose up in major cities everywhere, as did the events here in AltspaceVR.
Charles Ace, a noted world builder and photographer in our community, used photogrammetry to create an honor world with his photographs of the beautiful mural of George Floyd and the protest painted on the wall of the Apple Store in downtown Portland, Oregon, a city that soon became international news when the president sent in the National Guard to deal with riots and protests and complicated things so much. And Reggie Watts made us cry, laugh, hope through the 8-week run, helping us cope a little bit better and feel like we were a part of something so very special.
Indeed. Now, AltspaceVR joined Microsoft and companies around the world releasing Black Lives Matter solidarity statements and turned their web pages and social media profile images solid black for days as part of Blackout Tuesday, a movement that went from one day to weeks as the protests raged on. There are still meetings in AltspaceVR discussing diversity, equal rights, and Black Lives Matter issues, and we hope you're participating in those.
Now, Reggie Watts wasn't the only celebrity coming into Altspace VR. Based upon his amazing success with his keynote at the Educators in VR International Summit, Tom Furness, the grandfather of VR, co-founder of the Virtual World Society, worked with Educators in VR to bring their popular fireside chat events in a beautiful Victorian library developed by our producer Mark. Tom's Virtual World Society fireside chats, they still meet bi-weekly to have a conversation with the leading innovators and great minds in the immersive reality industry, research, and academia. What a privilege to have the key developer behind virtual reality headsets sharing his thoughts with friends, with us in Altspace VR. Oh, and we also celebrated his 77th birthday here in Altspace. He was one happy kid.
That was beautiful. Once again, Altspace VR celebrated Cinco de Mayo, this time with a new campfire theme and fun interactables, including piñatas and maracas and paper airplanes to throw around. The campfire was finally converted to front row, which allowed it to expand as needed to accommodate all of this extra traffic that was coming in as more and more people discovered Altspace VR during lockdown.
Now, after years of begging, Jackbox Games arrived in May as well, and the Alt Quiz game was updated and revamped, allowing users to play a Jeopardy-style game with other people. These are great ways to have fun with groups of friends, mixing and matching the browser games with VR.
Now, updates continue to improve the interface and the audio experience, along with improvements to world building, the MRE. That's the mixed reality extensions that allow for some form of scripting and programming for world building fun and games.
At the end of May, the Altspace VR community joined others globally to watch the launch of 2 American astronauts to the International Space Station from U.S. soil using the SpaceX rocket system. Hundreds gathered to watch Bob and Doug head into space through the live stream and later their successful return with the popular Rocket Party team.
Yeah. May was also exciting for Educators in VR as their first successful Students in VR program produced their first student-run, student-led 2-day conference in Altspace VR and Engage, produced with our wonderful Donna and Dr. Angelina Dayton, the VR lady. A powerful team of student advisors and producers came together, and this free conference showcased the work of students, not just building worlds, but teaching workshops and classes, with some teaching teachers how to use VR. In the fall, the team repeated their success with another 2-day event on Halloween to also provide the students in lockdown with a virtual Halloween experience and social. The team soon after launched the weekly Students in VR meetup, so expect more for them in 2021.
Now, more and more conferences included VR in their online adventures, with some of the more popular conferences adding public events for the Altspace VR community, like Microsoft Developer Days, AW, stands for Augmented World Expo, their conference, and the HP Tech Talk from Hewlett Packard, along with many Microsoft developer and tech events and socials. As the world seemed to pause for a moment as June began, we reopened in many places with the hope that the virus wouldn't spread as fast in the bright light of the outdoors. Australia went into their most serious lockdown that would last over 4 months, essentially flushing out the virus to zero by October.
Now, unfortunately, in the United States and elsewhere, that's a huge accomplishment. Wearing a mask to protect yourself and others from COVID became controversial. I don't understand why, as people claimed it violated their civil rights and freedoms. I just don't understand it. But we have seen the consequences of fake news and fake medical advice and, okay, let's just call it what it is. Fake medical treatments and news, creating viral superstars out of people like Sarah Cooper with her infamous skit reproducing Trump's bleach injection theory, shown at quite a few Altspace VR events. You thought the crazy was only in Altspace.
Now, Reggie Watts wasn't the only performer to realize that lockdown didn't mean the end of performances and concerts. Other artists began to discover AltspaceVR VR as a performance venue, bringing in comedians and singers and even artists to share their talents with all of us.
And June also brought virtual school graduations to AltspaceVR. What a wonderful way to bring people together during the pandemic from all around the world to celebrate this life milestone. While graduations are often memorable, having them in VR made them even more memorable. Honestly, imagine discussing this at their next reunion. And will that be in VR? Who knows?
Now, news arrived that Burning Man wasn't canceled. It's gone virtual, and AltspaceVR was one of their main festival campgrounds. The initial worlds were open to the public while under construction and informal. Later, more formalized tours began in preparation for the August month-long international celebration. What an honor to host the first VR Burning Man event in history.
June also brought an update introducing a warning before a user would enter mature content spaces. At least for worlds, there, events we're working on it. The community has always been concerned about underage children finding their way into adult-only events and worlds. This is a step in the right direction.
June also brought us a sad day in AltspaceVR with the end of access and support for the Samsung Gear VR. Many of us took our first steps in AltspaceVR using Gear VR, a wonderful gateway drug to social VR and VR in general.
The support process evolved as Altspace's Zendesk support system now featured specific URLs for help, including event support, conference support, enterprise support, and so on. Support directly on the AltspaceVR Discord was redirected to the better support ticketing system.
This and some other community issues led to a change in how the AltspaceVR community interacted with staff and each other on Discord, a change long in coming. Over the next few months, staff, community helpers, and others began to crack down on public whines, rants, and craziness on Discord. If you have a complaint, it is to be sent in through the support system. Personal attacks were quickly shut down and calm was slowly restored. For years, the openness of the community was amazing, but it was done with great respect and trust.
Over the past 2 years, welcome but disruptive individuals in the community made it uncomfortable for some. While we have some of the most powerful tools for blocking, muting disruptive people in AltSpace to ensure we have a safe and comfortable experience, we needed the same on Discord. And slowly, we have it. Since the shift, the Discord channels are more helpful, more welcoming, and definitely more focused.
Now, before we move into the second half of the year and the rest of our 2020 retrospective, we thought we'd take you on a visual journey through 2020 with a look at a few of the events, activities, projects, and worlds, as well as changes we've experienced over the year.
that amazing? Wow. Wow, that was so cool. All right.
Now in June, the community began to see in July, sorry, I don't know if I'm
In
the
July.
community began the community began to see sneak previews of the long-awaited new avatars. Over a year before, AltspaceVR began a year-plus remodel that included world building and avatars. News and updates follow the process every step of the way through their public forum discussion and feedback sessions as the community had their say on what they wanted as an avatar. While not what most of us wanted or anticipated, the new avatars were released in July to cheers and jeers.
Yes, indeed. The positive is that the avatars are a little more lifelike, a little less cartoony, and there are dozens of customizations and options in the face, the hair, body types, and clothing styles that allow us to create a unique visual presence that is fairly easily recognized.
Creepy or cool? More creepy are the eyes. They may be amazing though. The eyes do not track their own eyes, but they move independently, randomly, and automatically as you move your head. It took a long time for many to not feel creeped out by them as they really look and move as if they're real. Kudos to the dev team for the innovation with the eyes. If we could only wiggle our noses and ears in VR.
That could be fun. So the negative is the loss of legs. We're mourning our legs. And the current limitations without the ability to save different avatar versions. Painful realization during Halloween when we were dressing up. Probably the most painful experience for many in the community is the loss of the robot avatars. Many appreciated the lack of a gender and the representation of being inside a machine and not human. Requests continue to have the robots return, and we live in hope.
Now, June and July also brought into AltspaceVR the ugly aspects of the real world as hackers who'd attempted to ravage other social VR platforms turned their attention to AltspaceVR. We're not going to go into the gory details. Instead, we want to remember and honor all of the staff members, event hosts, moderators, and community helpers who worked overtime to help identify, block, kick, and permanently remove these hacking trolls.
Now, many events were interrupted by these racist trolls, sometimes multiple times as they switched accounts faster than we could kick them. The moment, you may not know this, behind the scenes, the moment the trolls were spotted in Altspace, community helpers got on their Discord voice channel and spread themselves around Altspace in the campfire and at events, watching, policing, and reporting to staff the moment a troll was spotted. The response of the community to defend itself was amazing to watch and even more amazing to be a part of.
We persisted. The event hosts and producers persisted, keeping their events running in spite of the disruptions. The audience persisted, supporting the event hosts. Together, we stood up against them, and we are still here.
Yes! The development team worked overtime through holidays and weekends to tighten the security and AltspaceVR features to block them. And when they struggled to get back in, they turned to attacking the website. And Altspace stopped them there. Along the way, however, we lost some features and abilities.
Among the losses slowly being restored are the personal and in-world web browsers and the ability to create an account on the website. Still, we're limited to creating accounts in-world. But the community came together. Benji and others developed MREs to help event hosts and educators to present slides using slides.com and Google Slides to showcase videos.
Eventually, the staff created the MMC, the multimedia console for hosting events and videos for events. A work still in process, together with a new web projector that allows desktop streaming of web pages through a browser extension.
With a little perspective, the timing of this was actually beneficial as Microsoft shut down its Mixer player browser about the same time, shutting down all video player access along with the browsers and browser based games like Jackbox, at least temporarily. New goodies are coming and we expect them to be more stable, flexible, and secure.
Now, the community was also disrupted several times in the summer and fall by users who created worlds and templates and kits and shared them with many in the community and then left AltSpace, removing their shared content or changed accounts, thus causing people to lose access to the shared content.
Now, we're not going to revisit this topic as we did during so many news and update shows, but remember that this is when AltspaceVR changed their terms and conditions to be more specific when it came to their responsibility when it comes to people sharing kits and templates. Many blamed AltspaceVR for people leaving the community, but the truth is that you are welcome to be here, share, have fun, follow the rules, and equally welcome to leave at any time and to take your goodies with you. It's painful when we lose access. That's so true to the goodies, but it is not the fault of AltspaceVR.
In August, Macaulay Culkin turned 40. And people just shuddered in shock as they suddenly felt old. And watching Home Alone during the holidays is now a family tradition for many. It's really, really hard to accept that that movie has now entered into the category of classic.
Now, speaking of watching, one thing that AltspaceVR does well are watch parties, be it sports or rocket launches, world events, weather events, earthquakes, or disasters. Trust that there will be an event open, bringing together people to watch live streams of the event. In August, people gathered to watch in horror the news coming from Beirut when an accidental explosion of almost 3,000 tons of ammonium nitrate in the city's port devastated the town, killing 190 people and injuring thousands.
In mid-August, wildfires broke out all along the west coast of the United States, quickly shrouding the coast from Alaska to California with smoke. Watch parties streamed the state of the air satellite pictures, these live streams and maps that represented the live updates of the fire into AltspaceVR, making the event feel up close and personal to many around the world.
Now, many AltspaceVR community members, including our very own Laurel, were deeply impacted by the fires, forced to evacuate, preparing to evacuate, or struggling to breathe as Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, and even further south near Los Angeles faced poor air quality numbers that broke the air quality scale for weeks. Seriously, how do you function in air quality of 611 when the scale tops at 400?
We survived. The dense smoke traveled the globe as reports came of smog and poor air quality thousands of miles away. Many AltspaceVR community members reported smoke in the air with a taste of ashtray in their mouths as the smoke plumes traveled the jet stream. Now, recently, I was asked to describe the community of AltspaceVR. Now, describing AltspaceVR for many, many years, I realized that it's really just a big neighborhood. We don't know all of our neighbors, but we know many of them. We greet each other, we attend events together, we hang out together. Most of all, we're there when the need arises.
Now, this year held tragedies, both public and private, for many of us, and we hung together. We lost several wonderful AltspaceVR community members, and we held memorials in their honor. We also mourned the loss of so many of our extended community, the family and friends, and even pets of our friends here, sharing their pain. It's fascinating to feel so much for people you haven't met in person, but that's how our community works. We might not be able to physically hug, but we touch hearts every day. And I'll just add, I know in Live Loved, we meet 6 or 7 times a week, and we have cried together with people so often, and almost every day mention the fact that we have VR to meet in. It's a godsend.
It is. It is indeed. Now, as we shift back to the nonstop updates, the Altspace VR development team kept pushing out from their homes. And the very end of July, they announced a new live speech captioning and translation feature, and the first event was in August. We have since had many test runs of this feature, and we are so eager for this to be available in events and globally.
Now, what it does is it uses voice recognition and machine translation to transcribe the speaking voice of the avatars near you, or a speaker on stage using megaphone so you can read the transcription. You may switch between almost a dozen different languages, including Hindi and Japanese, and you understand what the person is saying. For instance, I'm speaking in English. If enabled, you could be reading what I say in French or Spanish, maybe German, Russian, or another language. This is a huge game changer, finally doing what Second Life has been working on for almost 20 years, and no other platform has done. We can't wait for this to go live. It really will be a game changer. We all have events where people come in and that do not speak English, and we can't communicate with them, and it is so frustrating.
Indeed, I can't wait for this. August has brought us Burning Man. Whoa! What a show! I hope you saw it. It was amazing. So many worlds, such incredible world building, beautiful artwork, great events. Diplo performed. He performed in Altspace VR along with Samskara, Christopher Breedlove, DJ Quandra, and so many artists, performers, musicians, storytellers, poets. It was a long week of non-stop events around the clock.
Now, right from the first grand opening party and dazzling light show, Burning Man changed Altspace VR. The first big change was the return of the Mac version. Yes, for the first time in several years, Mac users could access a social VR platform in 2D. Few platforms support Mac, as Mac doesn't support VR. So this was huge, and it happened here in Altspace VR.
Yay! The next change came in world building expectations. Altspace VR and Microsoft developers worked with VR and global immersive design experts, engineers, and artists to not just recreate the real world Burning Man experience, but to push it to a whole new level in VR. Attendees, especially new users, came away thinking that they could press a few buttons and duplicate this unique, highly technical world building creations.
Now, those willing to put in the time and effort to learn Unity and embrace the limitations and explore the possibilities of world building in Altspace VR are now inspired to push the boundaries of imagination. We've seen a huge boom in world building interest in projects. Absolutely love that.
And if you missed Burning Man, don't worry, it continues on. They agreed to keep most of their worlds open to the public, and events are still continuing, especially with the lockdown. So check out the BCR worlds, Black Rock City worlds, in the featured worlds list.
August also brought the new public beta build project to allow community members to torture test new features before release to the community. Limited currently to Steam and Oculus users, we're eager to see this expand to include more platforms and device types.
Now, not long after, the standalone version of Altspace VR was dropped, surprising many 2D users, and all installs now must be through Steam, Oculus, and the Windows Store, except for the Mac version, which is still in development. With the loss of Samsung Gear VR and the upcoming end of life for Oculus Go, it makes sense to streamline the release versions.
August was busy with a ton of events and updates, but Altspace VR slipped another one in. The ability to make objects interactable, game changer for events. It became easier than ever to throw things at people, and we loved it.
Now, I know we're going to run a little bit over for this special show, but I want to share this really quick. Margie Diamond and I, we played around with the Interactables feature immediately after the release, asking ourselves, what can we throw? We threw cars, ambulances, trees, fire, all kinds of silly things. And then I tried a building, specifically a giant courthouse. I made it huge and I set it to be interactable. She picked it up and tossed it. Now, she tossed this huge building. We were laughing so hard. We forgot that the objects respawn back at their starting point. It respawned on top of her like the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz. We laughed so hard. I can guarantee you we hurt something. So, lesson learned. Yes, you can throw just about anything in AltspaceVR, but should you? I don't know.
Now, after a year of struggle and loss in September, it was with great sadness we greeted the death of U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. A powerful, outspoken judicial leader and woman, she took on some of the most powerful people, corporations, and issues as her 25 years on the Supreme Court ended. When she graduated Harvard, she was one of 9 women in a class of over 500 men. With her leadership and example, she was an outspoken leader on women's rights, and the world mourned with the U.S. as we did here in AltspaceVR.
Now, August and September brought us plenty of updates on the new multimedia console. Very cool. Very powerful video and image player with powerful features such as the audio fall off or roll off, allowing the sound to fade away with distance, and other features that we didn't have with the older browser and video players.
Now, improvements to the world editor brought goodies to help us position and interact with our world building kit objects, with improved collider outlines and features for resizing. Was the biggest update to the world editor since 2019.
And September was the celebration of the 2nd anniversary of the news and updates by Mark right here, this show in AltspaceVR. 2 amazing years bringing news and updates featuring great events and amazing worlds. And for Mark, this was a journey to overcome his social anxiety and give back to the community. And he succeeded in giving back, but the anxiety battles do continue.
We're so proud of all the improvements he's made through the more than 3 years in AltspaceVR. This is no longer a journey for Mark, but more of an ambition. To AltspaceVR and the community he loves, on his behalf, we share with you his thanks and heartfelt love to all friends he has made here and the support that you have all given him.
Yay, Mark. Take it in. October and the start of the holiday season for many of us. The campfire changed clothes and became a haunting delight with the addition of fun Halloween items and decorations. And the 2018 Halloween kit was returned to our World Builder editor, along with a few wonderful new Halloween goodies to decorate our worlds and home spaces, and updates to avatars that also brought some fun sweatshirts and Halloween accessories.
Now, the News and Updates team, Educators in VR, and World Building Tours team collaborated with AltspaceVR to create a huge Halloween mansion filled with teleporters to community-built spooky worlds. Community members volunteered to be scarers, assigned to worlds to add some scare to the experience. Almost 1,000 people moved through the haunted mansion and the worlds over multiple events during the Halloween season. There were so many amazing worlds built for this special community-wide event. Something about scaring the dickens out of people tends to bring out the creative spirits.
Well done. There was more going on in October than just scaring each other. It was also the 2nd annual Educators in VR Cyberbullying Month, featuring special events each week with experts in bullying, cyberbullying, harm reduction, and event hosting and moderation sharing. After the very rough summer with multiple hackers and extreme trolls, the month-long series of events helped to boost awareness and help people share their thoughts, feelings, and learn more about how to protect themselves and others.
Now, October also brought the new AltspaceVR Commons and Hubs, designed as new social spaces and to provide more information on how AltspaceVR works. It also introduced the new audio spatial features that restrict sound through walls and floors and windows for a more realistic effect.
We cannot wait for this to be available to world builders, as it's not just a game changer, but it is a world and event enhancement that will allow us to create event worlds for small group sessions and social events where people can talk and without hearing everyone in the room at the same time. Again, applause and hearts for the AltspaceVR developers, as we've been told Unity does not have this feature. And yet they figured it out. Nice.
Now, more updates and kits came out in October for world builders, including the integration of the diagnostics tool into the world editor panel and the inclusion of quest frames per second testing of the frame rate. The diagnostics tool was only available on the AltspaceVR webpage for the world, and the integration previous to this, and the integration helps world builders design and develop their worlds better for public and for event use. It is an invaluable tool.
It is. And then the Screen Door Effect Club, also known as the presentation stage or the panel template in the events, and the World Builder templates received a fresh makeover and update with fun textures, lighting, and the inclusion of the new spatial audio features. Then the world and AltspaceVR watched the United States election.
Discussion and watch parties filled AltspaceVR during the U.S. election, which always happens the first week of November every 4 years. When the results arrived the next day, the air filled with fireworks, ringing the bells, and banging of pots and pans out windows and celebrations in AltspaceVR.
Then came the stunning denial and start of propaganda denying the results in the real world and in AltspaceVR. More meetups, discussions, and protests on both sides populated the AltspaceVR calendar on this topic. Many came together to find commonality and peace with each other's side, with a willingness to figure out how and why, and try to process the past 4 years of crazy.
Welcome news soon arrived of approved vaccines in many countries around the world. Events have started popping up with people sharing information on the vaccines and access, helping answer many questions. Events discussing the decisions on dispensing the vaccines were live streamed into AltspaceVR.
Now, November also brought the announcement of the end-of-life support from Oculus and Altspace of the Oculus Go. It was scheduled to go the first week of December, but due to popular request and demand, AltspaceVR extended that through the holidays to ensure that friends and family could connect in AltspaceVR.
Now, more clothing fun arrived for our avatars in time for winter weather and the holidays with sweaters. While very appropriate for the Northern Hemisphere, the News and Updates team pondered on what should be done for Australians entering their hottest season of the year. I'm sorry, no bikinis in AltspaceVR, but seriously, it's not happening. Not on this avatar. Not ever.
Not ever. The end of November brought the announcement that Front Row was officially back and ready for office scaling. AltspaceVR was the first to offer the scalable event feature years ago, and near the start of 2019, it was turned on for all events, which proved to be convenient for large-scale events. And then when the 2019 remodel began in the summer, Front Row was disabled, then brought back later, and then taken away. And now it is back, available by request to the events team where it remains. So to activate, you need to contact the events team to request it at altvr.com/events support.
Now, during Thanksgiving week, the campfire changed clothes again. This time back to its winter snow-filled outfit, bringing us the perfect winter chill for our new avatar sweaters. In December, AltspaceVR was filled with story.
AltspaceVR, Educators of VR, News and Updates, Creative Writing, Students in VR, World Building Tours, the list is long, and other groups hosted the annual holiday storytelling events with popular and traditional stories from around the world, including an all-Russian language event by Gingery, featuring a story about a Russian version of Santa, learning about what summer is with the help of some children. Over 40 storytelling events were hosted by the AltspaceVR community, attended by friends and family, sharing the holiday spirit.
Now, it was way back in April that Broadway shut down. Hard to see those lights go down, and it is still shut down and likely not to open for many, many months. Speculation, it's not going to be until the next new year. Inspired, Mike began a series of open mic events and auditions that led to a huge theater production with dozens of volunteers of Neverland here in AltspaceVR. While there have been theater events in AltspaceVR in the past, this was one of the largest and most complex theater events in our history. Hundreds attended the play that happened over 2 nights.
Now, our friend Ariel has been working on her own play for months. It's a school project with Karen and Matthew and Diamond and I think Dawn, I don't know if you're involved, but many, many friends in the community. No, okay, creating their version of Little Red Riding Hood. The first show date is January 19th with a follow-up event likely a few days later. Others are also expanding or introducing new theater and performance events to keep the artistry and the magic alive. Broadway and theater is alive right here in AltspaceVR.
Now, among many updates in December, Speech Bubbles made an appearance. This is part of the ongoing growth of AltspaceVR to embrace accessibility, improve social and event experiences, and easily turned off. When someone speaks, a cartoon bubble with 3 dots appears over their head to indicate they are speaking. For most people with good hearing, the spatial audio helps us identify the speaker. But for those with hearing impairment issues or working a big crowd and eager to spot the speaker, this is a wonderful feature.
Yes, indeed. Now, zones were added to the World Editor for events that designate the presenter or host and audience areas. These are fantastic for events, so we don't have to constantly remember to turn on and off the megaphone or mute the audience. AltspaceVR keeps introducing features for events that few other platforms have even considered, and this is really exciting stuff.
Now, main events were introduced. Before, we've had featured events and all events in the menu. It's a word change, and hint that event management will be changing even more. It also arrived with a new feature that automatically tests the event world to ensure it complies with the standards and performs other checks, including checking to see if the host has hosted events before and met some basic requirements. It then automatically adds the event to the main event section without requesting the event to be featured. What a time saver!
No kidding. Now, World Builders also received a special gift for the holidays with improvements on how World Kit objects are listed on the AltspaceVR webpage for the world. If you go to the webpage for the world, you check out the list of objects, you'll see that it's now listed as a table. It identifies the kit, the type of object, and allows you to delete the object as well. Love this.
Now, updates came in the last week of the year to the multimedia console and the new web projector, and the new kits that include interactables like paper planes, darts and dartboards, bean bags, and more. The famous AltspaceVR marshmallow you can heat over the fire and eat in the campfire also made a return after a very long absence. More things to throw at each other and the wall. What a year it has been.
No kidding. Now, for event production, this has been an amazing year. Several longtime events like the Open Mic Night, the LGBTQ Plus and Friends, Improv VR, Creative Writing, all these groups celebrated 3-year anniversaries here in Altspace. Others like the News and Updates and Educators in VR celebrated 2 years, and we're working on our 3rd. New events are finding their feet and heading towards their 1st anniversary. Just love it.
What growth there has been in AltspaceVR in 2019. Each week there was an estimated 100 events. In 2020, we're likely over 200 events a week, all free and open to the public. We expect that number to grow more this year.
And as we greet the new year with this look back, not all of it was bad or fake news. So just in case you missed it, the Pentagon finally released UFO photographs and evidence of microbial life was found on Mars along with water on the moon. And we had events talking about those things here. And the fact that, do remember that a top former Israeli security chief announced that there's a federation of aliens that has been in contact with world leaders, including the US president. And you know what? None of these things surprise us anymore, and nor should they. I think we're ready. What a year.
Now, best of all, we've been through 2020 and we're still standing. That's a badge of honor we all wear proudly.
Indeed. And we're here.
And what a year for all of us and for our all space community. So, what comes next? We don't have crystal balls in our kits yet. Damn. Well, AltspaceVR is working on that. Here are some expectations and assumptions, just darn good guesses for what's coming up for AltspaceVR. Remember, we don't work for AltspaceVR, we only live here. We'd love to hear from you on what you think they will do in the next 365 days after this show.
So here's what we think. Avatars will continue to improve with more skin tones, clothing, hairstyles, and we'd love to have our legs back, but we're not putting too much hope in it.
World building continues to improve, however, we still want more. We want to push visitor limits and audience sizes. We want higher file sizes and increased functionality, all at the press of a button, of course.
Mm-hmm. We want more headset access to AltspaceVR. We're thrilled that Mac is on board, but we also need to have AltspaceVR embrace ARM chips to also keep up with the pace of technology.
We need the release of the live captioning and instant translation. This is critical for our events here in AltSpace, essential for us to connect and to communicate.
Now, the work over the past 6 months on getting web and video back into worlds and events is nice, but it's clunky and complex. Seriously, you need a programming degree in order to figure out some of the bits and pieces. We want one tool to do it all, easy to use and secure. We want the return of the personal browser and links. That would be so invaluable, along with, okay, I'm asking now, whiteboard and ability to take notes or to write in VR. Wouldn't that be sweet?
Now, to stay viable in the social VR market, AltspaceVR needs to attract huge ticket performers, conferences, and events, and help people to use AltspaceVR for workshops, classes, and incorporate into their new remote work and learning experience as the lockdown and pandemic is expected to last much of this year. They have to stand out to hold out.
Indeed. At the most recent Meet the Program owner, Keegan hinted, so maybe our crystal ball, maybe some messages coming through, and improved private ticketed events may be coming. Let's hope so. She also mentioned an age gate, restricting access to adult-only events or other age-specific events.
We cannot wait for the audio occlusion walls to be released soon to enable small group events and more comfortable social spaces.
And for the first time, community helpers this year were given special powers in some public areas of AltspaceVR. We are eager to see more abilities as well as improved training, support, and expansion of the community helper program with greater leadership and mentorship opportunities.
Are these on your list? We'd love to know what you think next for our community and AltspaceVR.
Now, as we look back on the year that was, we'd like to take a moment to look at what this show has accomplished.
In September, we celebrated the second anniversary with a special anniversary show and several behind-the-scenes events and tours of our old studios. Ah, the memories. We also gathered up the data, dusted it off, and would like to share a little with you.
Now, since September 2018, News and Updates produced by Mark has produced 140 shows. We've only canceled 3. That's amazing. Over 7,000 people have attended our events. Our YouTube channel hosts over 4,700 hours of video. That's a lot of video.
Now remember, we are not AltspaceVR employees and not paid. We are volunteers. We do this every week for our community and for you to help you know what is going on in and around AltspaceVR. To help you understand what goes into the show, here are some numbers.
We've put in an estimated 1,040 hours of script production. I think half of that came for this show. 510 hours. No, this show is not counted yet. 510 hours to create the slideshows every week. and we've spent about 320 hours editing and processing video footage. That is 2,390 hours in just over 2 years that we have given to the community.
It also takes many people to pull this show together. I know we are going to miss someone, but we'd like to thank Ancient I Won't Say, Karen666, Serenity, Graham, JW, Dawn, Diamond, Karen, Lisa, Lance, and so many others who've given up their time to help report on stories in and around AltspaceVR for us and to moderate our events.
Wow, that is a ton of work, and what a year. So Donna, I'd like to thank you for making News and Updates such a success. I love working with you and co-hosting the show with you. It has been an incredible honor. We have shared the most insane year together, often for hours at a time in each other's ears, and doing so much for this community. I'm going to start crying, for this community that we love. So thank you so much for your generosity of spirit and for having one of the biggest hearts around.
Well, that's so kind. And Laurel, I think a collective note of gratitude from the community for all that all you do with the different events that you host and produce. You almost single-handedly do educators in VR, all the events and all of the Discord channel, and we all wonder when you sleep. But we are. It's with deep gratitude that we acknowledge everything that you do for this community.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, Mark. Honestly, both of us literally have no words to thank you for everything that you've done for us, not just for this year, but all the years we've been friends and put up with each other. Your courage, your determination, and your faith in us and AltSpace VR is, honestly, it's amazing. You are among the best of the best, our friend. So please, thank you for continuing to kick our asses and to produce one of the best shows in AltSpace VR.
Now, to all of you, again, we couldn't do this without you. Thank you all for what you've done for us and all you've done for our community in AltSpace VR this year. We've made it through, and we will make it through another year and another. From all of us at the News and Updates team, thank you and Happy New Year. May 2021 be filled with kindness and peace.
Amen. Thank you, everyone.